from the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, the first poetry quartet present the heroic tradition, Scott, Tennyson, and Kipling. Ladies and gentlemen, here are George Bachman, Paul Heck, Cynthia Herman, and Jill Tanner, the first poetry quartet.
Oh, young Lochinvar has come out of the west. Through all the wide border his steed was the best. And save his good broadsword, he weapons had none. He rode all unarmed, and he rode all alone. So faithful in love and so dauntless in war, there never was knight like the young Lochinvar.
He stayed not for brake, and he stopped not for stone. He swam the Esk River, where ford there was none. But ere he alighted at Netherby gate, the bride had consented, the gallant came late. For a laggard in love and a dastard in war was to wed the fair Ellen of brave Lochinvar.
So boldly he entered the Netherby hall, among bridesmen and kinsmen and brothers and all. Then spoke the bride's father, his hand on his sword, for the poor craven bridegroom said never a word.
Oh, come ye in peace here, or come ye in war? Or to dance at our bridal, young Lord Lochinvar?
I long wooed your daughter, my suit you denied. Love swells like the Solway, but ebbs like its tide. And now am I come with this lost love of mine to lead but one measure, drink one cup of wine. There are maidens in Scotland more lovely by far that would gladly be bride to the young Lochinvar.
The bride kissed the goblet, the knight took it up. He quaffed off the wine and he threw down the cup. She looked down to blush and she looked up to sigh, with a smile on her lips and a tear in her eye. He took her soft hand ere her mother could bar.
Now tread we a measure, said young Lochinvar.
So stately his form, and so lovely her face, that never a hall such a galliard did grace. While her mother did fret and her father did fume, and the bridegroom stood dangling his bonnet and plume.
And the bride maidens whispered, 'Twere better by far to have matched our fair cousin with young Lochinvar.
One touch to her hand and one word in her ear, when they reached the hall door and the charger stood near. So light to the croup the fair lady he swung, so light to the saddle before her he sprung.
She is won, we are gone, over bank, bush and scar. They'll have fleet steeds that follow, quoth young Lochinvar.
There was mounting among Graemes of the Netherby clan.
Hostas, Fenwicks, and Musgraves, they rode and they ran.
There was racing and chasing on Cannobie Lee.
But the lost bride of Netherby ne'er did they see.
So daring in love and so dauntless in war, have ye e'er heard of gallant like young Lochinvar?
Sir Walter Scott wrote Lochinvar in 1808. It was one of his many poems that celebrated the heroic deeds of bygone days.
He wrote about the romance and adventure of Scottish history and of the devotion that people hold for their native country, as in this passage from the Lay of the Last Minstrel.
Breathes there the man with soul so dead, who never to himself have said, "This is my own, my native land," whose heart hath ne'er within him burned, as home his footsteps he hath turned from wandering on a foreign strand. If such there breathe, go, mark him well, for him no minstrel raptures swell. High though his titles, proud his name, boundless his wealth as wish can claim, despite these titles, power and pelf, the wretch, consented all in self, living shall forfeit fair renown, and doubly dying, shall go down to the vile dust from whence he sprung, unwept, unhonored, and unsung.
Much of Sir Walter Scott's poetry concerns traditions of life that have been with us for centuries. Here's one that strikes a familiar note today, though it was written about a football match that took place in Scotland in 1815.
From the brown crest of Newark, its summons extending, our signal is waving in smoke and in flame. And each forester blithe from his mountain descending bounds light o'er the heather to join in the game.
Then up with the banner.
Let Forest Wind's fanner, she has blazed over rhetoric 8 ages and more.
In sport we'll attend her.
In battle defend her.
With heart and with hand like our fathers before.
Then strip, lads, and to it, though sharp be the weather, and if by mischance you should happen to fall, There are worse things in life than a tumble on heather, and life is itself but a game at football.
And when it is over, we'll drink a blithe measure to each laird and each lady that witnessed our fun, and to every blithe heart that took part in our pleasure.
To the lads that have lost and the lads that have won.
Rah! If Scott was a favourite poet of the early 19th century, then certainly Alfred Tennyson was the most popular and successful poet of the mid-century. His tribute to the brigade of troopers who died at Balaclava in the Crimean War is still one of the best-loved of all heroic poems.
Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. All in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade! Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600.
Cannon to right of them,
Cannon to left of them,
Cannon in front of them volleyed and thundered.
Stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode and well. Into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell rode the 600. Flashed all their sabres bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabring the gunners there, charging an army, while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the sabre stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600.
cannon to right of them,
cannon to left of them,
Cannon behind them volleyed and thundered.
Stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made, all the world wondered. Honor the charge they made, honor the light brigade, noble 600.
Tennyson, who became Lord Tennyson in 1883, also reached back to the days of chivalry for poetic inspiration. And even in the quiet moments, he could evoke a medieval majesty in a lyric such as this from The Princess.
the splendor falls on castle walls and snowy summits old in story. The long night shakes across the lakes and the wild cataract leaps in glory. Blow, bugle, blow, set the wild echoes flying. Blow, bugle,
answer echoes, dying, dying, dying.
oh hark, oh hear how thin and clear, and thinner, clearer, farther going. Oh, sweet and far from cliff and scar, the horns of Elfland faintly blowing. Blow, let us hear the purple glens replying. Blow, bugle,
Answer echoes, dying, dying, dying.
oh love, they die in yon rich sky. They faint on hill or field or river. Our echoes roll from soul to soul and grow forever and forever. Blow, bugle, blow, set the wild echoes flying.
And answer echoes, answer, dying, dying, dying.
One of Tennyson's most personal poems was Crossing the Bar, and he requested that it always be placed on the final page of his collected works.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me. And may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark. And may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar.
Tennyson died in 1892, just as the star was rising for a new young poet, Rudyard Kipling. He wrote of the heroism of the common man in resonant phrases that came to be quoted throughout the world.
Oh, east is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet, till earth and sky stand presently at God's great judgment seat. But there is neither east nor west, border nor breed nor birth, when two strong men stand face to face, though they come from the ends of the earth.
And he spoke sympathetically of those who were downtrodden or whom life had passed by. Among these, a group of well-born English gentlemen who, for various personal reasons, had been forced to join the army, not as officers, but as lowly men of the ranks, each of them destined for an unknown grave in a distant land.
To the legion of the lost ones, to the cohort of the damned, to my brethren in their sorrow overseas, sings a gentleman of England, cleanly bred, machinely crammed, and a trooper of the Empress, if you please.
Yes, a trooper of the forces, who has run his own 6 horses, and faith he went the pace and went it blind. And the world was more than kin, while he held the ready tin. But today the sergeant's something less than kind.
We're poor little lambs who have lost our way. Bah, bah, bah.
We're little black sheep who've gone astray. Bah.
Gentlemen rankers out on the spree.
And from here to eternity.
God have mercy on such as we. Bah.
Yeah, bah.
If the home we never write to, and the oaths we never keep, and all we know most distant and most dear, across the snoring barrack room return to break our sleep, can you blame us if we soak ourselves in beer?
When the drunken comrade mutters, and the great guard lantern gutters, and the horror of our fall is written plain, every secret self-revealing on the aching whitewashed ceiling. You wonder that we drug ourselves from pain?
We have done with hope and honor. We are lost to love and truth. We are dropping down the ladder rung by rung, and the measure of our torment is the measure of our youth. God help us, for we knew the worst too young.
Our shame is clean repentance for the crime that brought the sentence. Our pride it is to know no spur of pride. And the curse of Reuben holds us till an alien turf enfolds us and we die. And none can tell 'em where we died.
We are poor little lambs who have lost our way. Bah, bah, bah.
We're little black sheep who've gone astray. Bah, ah.
Gentlemen rankers out on a spree.
Damned from here to eternity.
God have mercy on such as we. Bah.
Yeah.
In August 1892, Kipling, in a letter to the New York Sun, wrote that any artist, however fine, must fail if he tries to match the beauties of nature. He concluded with a poetic depiction of what a painter might expect to find in the hereafter.
When Earth's last picture is painted, and the tubes are twisted and dried, when the oldest colors have faded, and the youngest critic has died, we shall rest. In faith, we shall need it. Lie down for an eon or two. till the master of all good workmen shall set us to work anew. And those that were good shall be happy. They shall sit in a golden chair. They shall splash at a 10-league canvas with brushes of comets' hair. They shall find real saints to draw from, Magdalene, Peter, and Paul. They shall work for an age at a sitting and never be tired at all. And only the master shall praise us, and only the master shall blame. And no one shall work for money, and no one shall work for fame, but each for the joy of working. And each in his separate star shall draw the thing as he sees it, for the God of things as they are.
Kipling found poetic inspiration in almost everything, including a breach of promise case in which a bride informed her fiancé that he must choose between her and his cigars. The resulting poem may not be heroic, but it would take a brave man to decide in favor of the cigars.
Open the old cigar box. Get me a Cuba stout, for things are running crossways, and Maggie and I are out. We quarreled about Havanas, we fought o'er a good cheroot, and I know she is exacting, and she says I am a brute. Oh, Maggie is pretty to look at. Maggie is a loving lass, but the prettiest cheeks must wrinkle, the truest of loves must pass. Open the old cigar box. Let me consider a while. Here is a mild Manila, there is a wifely smile. Which is the better portion? Bondage bought with a ring, or a harem of dusky beauties, 50 tied in a string? Counselors cunning and silent, comforters true and tried, and never a one of the 50 to sneer at a rival bride. Thought in the early morning, solace in time of woes, peace in the hush of twilight, balm ere my eyelids close. Open the old cigar box. Let me consider anew old friends. And who is Maggie, that I should abandon you? A million surplus Maggies are willing to bear the yoke, and a woman is only a woman, but a good cigar is a smoke.
There is a story that Queen Victoria was so offended by one of Kipling's poems that she denied him the post of Poet Laureate. Actually, he was approached for the honor, but declined to be considered. As for the poem, The Sons of the Widow, the Queen indeed may not have been amused.
Have you heard of the widow at Windsor with a hairy gold crown on her head? She has ships on the foam, she has millions at home, and she pays us poor beggars in red.
Oh, poor beggars in red.
There's a nick on the cavalry horses, there's a mark on the medical stores, and a troopers you'll find with a fair wind behind that takes us to various wars.
Poor beggars, barbarous wars.
Then here's to the widow at Windsor, and here's to the stores and the guns, the men and the horses, what makes up the forces of Mrs. Victoria's sons.
Poor beggars, Victoria's sons.
Walk wide of the widow at Windsor, for half a creation she owns. We have brought her the same with the sword and the flame, and we've salted it down with our bones.
Poor beggars, it's blue with our bones.
Hands off of the sons of the widow, hands off of the good in a shop, for the kings must come down and the emperors frown when widow at Windsor says stop.
Poor beggars, we're sent to say stop.
Here's to the lodge of the widow. For the pole to the tropics it runs, to the lodge that we tile with the rank and the file and open in forms with the guns.
Poor beggars, it's always with the guns.
We have heard of the widow at Windsor, it's safest to let her alone. For as centuries we stand by the sea and the land wherever the bugles are blown.
Poor beggars, don't we get blown?
Take hold of the wings of the morning and flop round the earth till you're dead. But you won't get away from the tune that they play to the bloomin' old rag overhead.
Poor beggars, it's hot overhead.
Then here's to the sons of the widow, wherever, however they roam. Here's all they desire, and if they require, a speedy return to their own.
Poor beggars, They'll never see home.
Whenever Rudyard Kipling is mentioned, one poem springs to mind before all others. The setting is India, where Kipling lived for so many years, and the hero is a native regimental water boy.
You may talk of gin and beer when you're quartered safe out here and you're sent to penny fights and all to shot it. But when it comes to slaughter, you'll do your work on water and you'll lick the bloomin' boots of him that's got it. Now in Inge's sunny clime, where I used to spend my time, a servant of Her Majesty the Queen, of all them black-faced crew, the finest man I knew was our regimental beastie, Gunga. It was...
Dean! You limping lump of brick dust, Gunga.
Aye, Slippy i' the row!
Water, get it, Punny-lo!
You squidgy-nosed old idol, Gunga.
The uniform he wore was nothing much before and rather less than half of that behind. For a piece of twisty rag and a goatskin water bag was all the field equipment he could find. When the sweating troop train lay in his siding through the day where the heat would make your bloomin' eyebrows crawl, we shouted, "Harry by!" till our throats were bricky dry, then we whopped him because he couldn't serve us all. It was...
Dean! You heathen, where the mischief have you been?
You put some jaldy in it, or I'll marrow you this minute if you don't fill up my helmet, Gunga.
He would dot and carry one till the longest day was done, and he didn't seem to know the use of fear. If we charged or broke or cut, you could bet your bloomin' nut he'd be waiting 50 paces right flank rear. With his mussick on his back, he would skip with our attack and watch us till the bugles made retire. And for all his dirty hide, he was white, clear white inside. When he went to tend the wounded under fire, it was...
Dean!
With the bullets kicking dust spots on the green. When the cartridges ran out, you could hear the front ranks shout,
Aye, ammunition mules and Gunga.
I shan't forget the night when I dropped behind the fight with a bullet where my belt plate should have been. I was choking mad with thirst, and the man that spied me first was our good old grinning, grunting Gunga. He lifted up my head, and he plugged me where I bled, and he gave me half a pint of water, green. It was crawling and it stunk, but of all the drinks I've drunk, I'm gratefulest to one from Gunga. It was...
Dean! Here's a beggar with a bullet through his spleen!
He's chawing up the ground and he's kicking all around!
For God's sake, get the water, Gunga.
He carried me away to where a dooley lay, and a bullet come and drilled the beggar clean. He put me safe inside, and just before he died, "I hope you like your drink," says Gunga. So I'll meet him later on at the place where he is gone, where it's always double drill and no canteen. He'll be squatting on the coals, giving drink to poor damned souls, and I'll get a swig in hell from Gunga. Yes,
Dean!
you Lazarusian leather Gunga. Though I've belted you and flayed you, by the living God that made you, you're a better man than I am, Gunga.
Heroic poetry should have an heroic ring. And to close our program, here is just such a piece. It's from In Memoriam by Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Ring out wild bells to the wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light. The year is dying in the night. Ring out wild bells and let him die.
Ring out the old, ring in the new, ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true.
Ring out the grief that saps the mind, for those that here we see no more. Ring out the feud of rich and poor, ring in redress to all mankind.
Ring out a slowly dying cause and ancient forms of party strife. Ring in the nobler modes of life with sweeter manners, purer laws.
Ring out the want, the care, the sin, the faithless coldness of the times. Ring out my mournful rhymes, but ring the fuller minstrel in.
Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good.
Ring out old shapes of foul disease. Ring out the narrowing lust of gold. Ring out the 1,000 wars of old. Ring in the 1,000 years of peace.
Ring in the valiant man and free,
The larger heart.
The kindlier hand.
Ring out the darkness of the land.
Ring in the Christ that is to be.